senior night to break the scoring seal.
That is absolutely a memory to be cemented in Zach Tobler and his family's mind. Starting tonight, senior night, getting that first bucket.
How cool is that?
You see Cincinnati in the 2-3 zone right now, really looking to swarm anything in the post.
Galen Robinson ties the game. Cincinnati and Houston are the two highest scoring teams in the American Conference. They met earlier this season. It was a 67-58 Cincinnati win in Houston. Washington misses the three, and Rob Gray, the leading scorer in the American Conference, will get the rebound. Tobler will commit the foul, and let's see if he comes off the floor for Gary Clark.
Tell you what, you may not get the minutes during the game, but a guy like Zach Tobler works his butt off during practice, day in, day out for 4 years. His teammates certainly recognize that.
Walkout who grew up a Cincinnati fan from across the river in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. He was going to go play D3 basketball, but instead, his uncle, a huge Cincinnati fan, convinced him to try out for the Bearcats, and he's been a walk-on on this club. Good story for Tobler to get the first two. The last five belong to Houston. Those three for Rob Gray.
Yeah, Houston 9 3-pointers a game at 40%, and also less than 10 turnovers per game. Cougars can spring on you quickly.
Good defense out of the perimeter by Davis. Robinson dribbled it off of his foot, and Gary Clark in off the bench scoops it up.
Rare unforced turnover by Houston. Averaging just a little bit less than 10 per game.
And you mentioned it right on cue. Less than 10 turnovers per game is fourth in the fourth in the country, I should say, fourth fewest. Mick Cronin coming off a tough loss the other day on the road at UCF. Taco Fall, the 7'6" sophomore, made it very difficult on this high-powered offense for Mick Cronin to really run their stuff. They were held to their season lows in points and field goal percentage. Just 49 points, and they shot 29.6% in that 4-point loss.
We talk about the American Athletic Conference Championship. That's a glimpse of maybe things to come. Outstanding defense on a consistent basis. Central Florida, you know, they've been up in the top tier nationally all year, and a lot of it has to do with Big Taco Fall, but that's the kind of stuff that wins championships.
I'll give you a note here. So obviously a road win here be very big for the resume of the Cougars. 6-4 in true road games this year, including 6-2 in the American Conference. And Houston has won its last 3 road games against Tulane, Tulsa, and on the road at Memphis.
And at the risk of offending all those people who talk about there's no such thing as an eye test, you beat a team like Cincinnati on their home floor after they've won 25 straight, somebody's going to open their eyes.
Washington with his second bucket to put Cincinnati in front by a pair.
Actually, I wasn't worried about offending anybody.
Well, I was going to say, when's the last time you were worried about offending somebody? As Galen Robinson takes it in, draws the bump, and he'll have 2 shots.
It was a civil thing to say.
I mean, you do have a way with words, Lenny. I will tell you that right now. As Copain picks up his first foul. This is a really, really good Houston offense against a really, really good Cincinnati defense. It's such a fun matchup tonight. And I don't think a lot of people around the country would look at Houston or maybe think of Houston off the top of their heads of, you know, for lack of a better, I don't like the term, but mid-major teams that really deserve a shot. Upper echelon mid-majors, or if you want to throw the American into the high major category, depending on your perspective, I'm all for it. This is a really good team that a lot of people would be impressed by if they looked at their full body of work.
Yeah, and when they think of Houston, obviously they think of that high-powered offense, the ability to shoot the three, but they forget 16 points off turnovers, plus 6 against opponents. You know, they play excellent help side defense, and that's the kind of thing that helps them explode.
Their defense forces the first Cincinnati turnover of the night. 13 points in the first 4 minutes.
ESPN's exclusive presentation.
So when I rent a car, Enterprise will pick me up?
Yep.
Certainly build some confidence for the Huskies, but when you take a look at that bracket, the 3 severe long shots that I think that have a chance. You know, we're talking about Temple, Tulsa, particularly. You know, they can step in and do some damage if they get to that next night.
And UConn still needs to push, even just for a potential NIT bid. Obviously, they're thinking much bigger than that, having dealt with all their injuries this year and battling back.
But the advantages of playing in your home court, also having a point guard like Jalen Adams, as I said, point guard so important in a tournament setting.
Sophomore Jacob Evans has been red hot as of late. He picks up a 2 to put Cincinnati in front by a 3.
I guess UConn would know about point guards in a tournament setting.
They've
over the years.
Ones. Tipped alive into the corner, and it's grabbed by Kevin Johnson. He and Copain are on the floor, the 2 seniors that are in the main rotation. Washington is off to a good start, working against Bertrand Collie. And a foul called underneath by Ron Gruber. Foul will be against Washington.
Well, Jacob Evans, talk about senior day, the loss of Troy Copain next year. This is his team. Jacob Evans, he'll inherit, you know, a bunch of guys who are experienced, savvy, and to go along with what he's been able to do this season offensively. 26 double-figure games out of the 29 that he's played. 5th in the conference in three-point field goal percentage. Over the last 6, he's averaged 14 points. So, you know, his contributions are many, but next year they're going to be counting on him big time.
And he's guarding Rob Gray, the leading scorer in the conference right now. Shot clock inside at 10. Gray lost his footing and lost the ball. Copain into Knowles, and he draws the foul on Danrad. So the rematch comes away from Chapel Hill on Saturday, part of our Sonic Blockbusters. Duke with an 8-point win at Cameron. Now North Carolina with so much at stake, a potential 1 seed and the outright ACC championship Saturday at 8:15 on ESPN. Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. Coming off a game where that high-powered offense put up just 43, granted, on the road against a very good defensive team in Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, Carolina's got to start pulling it together. They got to learn how to play different speeds.
Renee Copain watching her son at the free throw line. She has attended 121 of Troy's 131 career games. She lives in Virginia, where Copain is from, Midlothian, out of Cosby High School.
Mother's love, mother's love.
We've got some good stories about Renee, no doubt. And we've got some good stories about Renee that Troy told us earlier today. She is the driving force behind his love of basketball and a lot of motivation for him. His dad, Troy Sr., is in town as well. He's a police officer up in New York. As 3 is knocked down by Robinson. Ends a 9-1 Cincinnati run. That was a big shot for Robinson. Clark backing down against Knowles. Collie came over for help and did a nice job of it.
Well, part of the problem was Kyle Washington brought his man over to provide some help. And here, even during practice, you see Houston just work on that. A little bit of penetration, mini penetration, draws the defense in and kicks it out. And as we said, 9 3-pointers per game. That's what Houston thrives upon.
Jaron Cumberland, the freshman, a smooth-looking jump shot. He's been inconsistent at times this year, but coming off an 11-point and 5-assist game on Sunday at UCF. The 5 assists were a career high for the freshman. Gray and Robinson working together in the backcourt. Dotson can really shoot it as well. Very good shooting team that can score in multiple ways. And Galen Robinson has already shown it off tonight. He's got 8 of the Houston 11.
Outstanding job by Houston all together, not just Robinson, keeping the floor spread, keeping the help far enough away that Robinson can gain that advantage getting into the paint.
Payne into Robinson with the left hand, and there's the first field goal for the senior.
Talk about Troy Copain not scoring the way he had in the past over the last couple of years, but he is Mr. Clutch for this team. When they need a basket, he takes it upon himself, and more times than not, it's successful.
Copain on the switch has to guard the taller Knowles, who drives into Cumberland and flips it in. Dan Rad Knowles, chicken as he's known, puts in 2.
But look at Troy Copain trying to guard Knowles, who's at 6'10", very slender 6'10", but the help coming over is what created a foul. Darren Cumberland got there a little too late.
Dan Rad, a veteran of 124 games. He'll celebrate Senior Day on Sunday when Houston faces off against East Carolina to close out their regular season. They're going to have a similar ceremony like the Bearcats had tonight. They're shutting down this current edition of Fifth Third Arena. Hofheinz Pavilion is going to close down, get gutted on the interior, and it's going to open up as the Fertitta Center for the 18-19 season. $60 million facility. Copain misses the 3, and out of bounds the other way.
For Mr. Fertitta, that's chump change.
Oh, when you got Fertitta, money, you're doing something right. When we come back, name that team. We're going to have a little bit of fun with what's going on for the upcoming postseason. Don't go away.
Ted and Sarah are about to try Taco Bell's new Naked Chicken Chalupa with a...
What I wanted to talk to you about especially, and we didn't talk about this earlier because I wanted to keep this as a fresh idea in your head. As Johnson picks up a steal out on the perimeter, and he'll put in 2 to put Cincinnati up by 3. There does seem to be a tendency, and this seems to be an argument, especially in the last couple of years, a high-powered, again, let's call it mid-major team, for lack of a better term, against a middle-tier, high-major team out of one of the power conferences. The leaning seems to be towards the power conference teams.
Yeah, and again, a lot of it has to do with competition in my mind, despite the fact that when you look at the objective numbers against RPI top 50 teams, if you're going to use that as criteria, there's not much difference between these two at all. But, I would also say there's probably a little bit of bias last year. The American teams didn't fare that well, and, that kind of residual memory, rightly or wrongly, might still be in the minds of some of the tournament selection committee people.
Copain to Cumberland, knocks down the 3 from the corner. And Kevin Johnson, the senior on the Cincinnati team, one of the 3, after they lost to UCF the other day, he actually mentioned it, that, hey, this might actually hurt our seeding a little bit because I think there's a bias against our conference. Even though UCF is a 19-win team this year, they're sitting as a potential top 5 seed in the American tournament. They've got a great coach in Johnny Dawkins. They've got a budding star, at least by name recognition, in Taco Fall.
Outstanding defense. Excellent
defensive team, and they don't get the respect that maybe even some of the teams in their conference feel they deserve.
No, I'm in agreement. Again, though, it still takes basketball people to make the final determination, and again, based upon their understanding of how this game is played and, competitive comparisons as opposed to mere numbers. As I've said, if you're going to go by mere numbers, then just hire a bunch of mathematicians, analytics folks, figure it out, put together a couple of, analyzers and you'll get your team. But that's no fun. Of course.
We like what we see on the floor, too. It's got to be a blend. It has to be a blend of the numbers, the metrics, what you see on tape, and the personnel as well. Remember, Houston was missing Devin Davis for a good chunk of this season due to multiple injuries. Since Davis has been back, this team has been much better. And as Lenny mentioned, Houston has won 7 of its last 8. And they've got one of the dynamic scorers in the country in Rob Gray. Dotson's a pretty good one, too, but Cumberland with the strip for the 5th Houston turnover. Justin Jennifer, pull-up pop. And Dotson's there for the rebound.
Well, that turnover doesn't hurt, but once again, 5 turnovers. They only average 9.8 per game.
Dotson missed the 3. Colley missed it off the side of the backboard. Didn't realize where he was after the offensive rebound. Cumberland gliding in for 2.
Big fella gliding, and when I say big, I'm not talking necessarily height, but the girth. Jaron Cumberland just willed his way to the basket, and that's part of that offense we talked about. More high-powered, high-octane points off turnovers. They get in transition. Cincinnati's got the athletes, the size, and they can put it in the basket.
Dotson called for the push-out by Tony Green. They'll go the other way off the 6th Cougar turnover. The first time these two teams met, Cincinnati exploited Houston's 9 turnovers, relatively low number, obviously, but into 12 points. And what ended up being a 9-point victory on the road at Hofheims.
Right now, they're only 5 away from that number here in the first half.
Cumberland to Johnson, freshman to senior. And the freshman Cumberland came in for the offensive rebound, but Ron Gruber called a foul. No, it was Ray Natili who called the foul first against Bertrand Colley of Houston.
Dan Red Nose back in the ball game, and recognizing, you know, Colley just not strong enough, not capable enough to keep people off the board. Not to say that Knowles is either. I mean, his nickname Chicken might not necessarily be a physical description, but he is rather slender. But they've got to be able to block out, keep Cincinnati off that glass.
Washington with a great save. An offensive rebound for one of the better offensive rebounding teams in the league. Another chance. This time Washington gets blocked underneath the rim, and coming out of the pack is Robinson. He sets up Wes Van Beck for 3. And Washington will run it down and rescue it to Cumberland.
And that too quick a shot. You know, down 6 points. Obviously, you got an opportunity, but wait until you get your runners to come and command that board. There's all red shirts on that glass, no white shirts at all.
So it is Knowles and Davis doubling on Washington, and a foul is called. It'll go against Cincinnati, which currently has its largest lead at 6.
And we talk about the freshman, Jaron Cumberland, pushes the ball, maneuvers through, and uses that big body for 2.
More objects have landed around the world.
This is one of 12. I'm never going to be able
City. One of the reasons why I wanted to play in the ACC. It's not necessary for those 2 teams. A little far south for the kids back in 1970. But, I mean, the quality basketball, Hall of Fame coaches throughout the years. And, you know, obviously highly competitive for the most part.
Good second chance opportunity for Devin Davis. Junior college transfer from Indianapolis, who's playing his 8th game since returning from an injury.
And plus, being a Maryland alum, I like to see those 2 beat their brains out.
Obviously, if you watch any of our coverage at home, you go, man, they sure do like to promote other games. Well, yeah, that's part of our jobs as broadcasters, to promote our network and the games that we have. What do you want me to say about Duke, North Carolina to get you to watch, other than it's Duke, North Carolina? What do I have to do? Not much, as Johnson hits his second field goal. Dotson for 3. Way off target that time, and some of the threes have not looked as sharp for Houston in the early going.
Well, they're having a lot of problems from beyond the arc. Just 2 of 8. And sometimes they're pulling up. They're getting open looks. but the confidence is going. It's ebbing as they're not hitting shots and not getting the offensive rebound.
That was a big problem the first time around in Houston. The Bearcats went just 3 of 19 from three-point range in that game. Cincinnati hit 10 threes in that game. Nasir Brooks comes out. He's working as the 5-man now for Cincinnati. Shot clock down to 2, and Cumberland, the freshman, will have to hoist one up. Poor offensive possession for Cincinnati.
Well, you take a look out there on the floor as Justin Jennifer comes in the ball game. For a period of time, there was no real point guard out there to be able to lead that offense.
They're leaning on Johnson to try to handle it, as well as the freshman Cumberland. Scott with the pick. Another turnover for Houston. That's 7. Allen nearly turned over, but rescued by Quadri Moore, who did not play on Sunday against UCF. Cumberland trying the entry feed, well read by Van Beck to knock it out of bounds. And right on cue, Lenny, as soon as you make the point about point guard, here he comes. Troy Copain will re-enter the game, trying to get Cincinnati back on track.
Yeah, now Justin Jennifer is he's a quality backup. You know, he's had 9 assists in the last 4 games prior to this one, only playing 11 minutes a game. But I think Mick Cronin recognizes that, you know, with a 6-point lead and as explosive as Houston is, you know, just a couple of breaths for Troy Copain is plenty.
Quadri Moore again did not play on Sunday, comes right back in and knocks down a jumper to give Cincinnati its largest lead at 8.
Yeah, Quadri Moore gets, you know, kind of teaspoons full of minutes, averaging about a little less than 5 minutes per game over the last 6 games, but he can come up knocking down threes from time to time.
Dotson, good move, but no finish there for Houston. Here comes Cincinnati again. And the best offense that Mick Cronin has had, leading the American at 75 a game. And a big reason why is Kevin Johnson's emergence as a three-point shooter puts Cincinnati up by 11. Back in 30 seconds.
Any guy can catch a ride, but only you can take her on a journey. You got something. Own it and smell.
Schedule is done, and this will be the final game for Cincinnati, so they have a chance to go into next year with their 5th third arena win streak intact for at least another 2 years. They have never lost against Houston. 14-0 all-time in this building against the Cougars. Here comes Cincinnati with an 11-point lead.
Nice block from behind by Evans to start this break.
Trey Scott off target. Here comes Robinson, always with his head up, looking to push the tempo. Davis had it blocked by Evans from behind, and out of bounds. Last touch by Houston.
Jacob Evans is getting sneaky now. 2 blocks from behind. Well, just good timing. Take a look at Evans right there. Allows the ball handler to go past him and waits for his help to stop him, and then he goes up and gets the deflection.
Solid on the defensive end all year has been Cincinnati. Really one of the best in the country. Top 10 of the country in blocks. Top 10 of the country in scoring defense. Top 10 of the country in defensive efficiency. Quadri Moore thought about it, took it, missed it long. Evans tips it alive for Johnson. Inside of 4 to play first half.
The 2-3 zone that Cincinnati persists in playing has really created problems for the most part. When Houston can spread the floor, they get opportunities. When they rush, they have problems.
Devin Davis gets called for the offensive foul. Hey, Adnan, how do you feel about about being back in the studio after being out at the Oscars? Are you slumming it right now with us?
Never. You know my true passion is hanging out here with Kara Lawson and Jeff Goodman. And coming up in the Land Rover Halftime Report, all eyes on Duke and UNC on Saturday night, including a key Blue Devil in your estimation.
I love what Luke Kennard has done. I love the season that he's had. He's played like an All-American, so we're going to show you some of his secrets.
I want to see what Grayson Allen does. You know, he had a bad game against Florida State. Does not look healthy. He better get healthy quick.
All that and more coming up. Land Rover Halftime Report. More of the game right after this.
Some forced shots by both Gray and Dotson, kind of frustration shots.
Evans, Clark, Moore, Cumberland, and Copain, the 5 for the Bearcats, and Evans was the only man to touch it on that possession for Cincinnati. Robinson, Davis, Colley, Gray, and Dotson, the 5 out there for the Cougars. Let's see if Gray gets going. Davis skying for the rebound and flaring it back out towards midcourt. But off target and over to Cincinnati.
That was a perfect example of kind of frustration shots. One pass into the offense. Rob Gray wants to take a challenge 3 instead of getting some ball movement. And that's playing right into Cincinnati's hands.
Cougars have more turnovers than they do field goals. 9 giveaways to 7 buckets. Stays at this end of the floor.
Audrey Moore trying to get a little too fancy right there with the hook pass on the drive.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, though, you know, you get a guy coming off the bench, as I said, and has only played 5 minutes a game over the last 6 games. He still come off the bench with some confidence. If you're Mick Cronin, you got to look beyond the mistakes and like the fact that he's out there trying to make something happen.
Yeah. Clark posting up, banging his way inside and still muscling it in against the double team of Bertrand Colley.
Boy, Gary Clark just doesn't get enough credit.
Nope.
You know, 17 double-doubles in his whole career. In the last 3 games, well, actually, in the last game, just 3 points against Central Florida, but beyond that, 13 points, 10 rebounds in the 3 games prior to that. And you can see he's just a force inside.
Dotson off the curl. He can be very effective off the dribble, much like Rob Gray.
And if Houston would recognize, and when they get that mini penetration, that contracts that zone, and now the shooters can circle in and get good looks. They were doing that early in the game. They kind of forgot all about it.
Dotson is coming off his 3rd 30-point game of the year. Those were his first 2 points of the night. Offensive rebound for Moore. Clark cutting for 2.
Give all the credit to Quadri Moore on that one. Another second chance opportunity for Cincinnati. That's their 11th point. Off of 9, or actually now 10 Houston turnovers.
Gray with the fading shot over Copain.
That's another force, Adam. That once again, Rob Gray is in frustration mode. Got to let the game come to you, play with your teammates, instead of trying to force the action, particularly against a high-caliber defensive team like Cincinnati.
Quadri Moore trying a 3. Clark is right there. And Kelvin Sampson is looking down his bench, trying to find somebody who wants to grab a rebound right now at the defensive end. Robinson misses the 3. Cumberland snares the rebound. 3 on 3, and Cumberland with the offensive foul. Good job by Robinson to step in and take the charge.
A lot of heart by Robinson stepping into that freight train. Woo. Coming right at you. A good call. Cumberland tried to get around him. You know, Robinson might have tipped just a little bit to the left, but nevertheless, good call by the officials.
Cumberland's got about 30 pounds on Galen Robinson.
And he hit him full flush, too.
It looked like an American Conference football game back in October. trying so hard to get a decent paint touch. Copain started the outlet for Johnson. Slammed home by Evans. Timeout, Kelvin Sampson.
The best athlete on the Bearcats and possibly on the floor right now. And Jacob Evans still hustling, getting his job done. Here's the push. The miss, but watch Evans never gives up on it. Boom. That's just pretty basketball right there.
Two of those seniors teaming up on that play, and there was the sophomore that flushed it down to put Cincinnati into a 20-4 run, going up by 17, their largest lead of this first 20-minute session. Jacob Evans out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, had a chance to go to LSU, but really there was no room for him. There was a really good recruiting class that had come in front of him that season. He was the #3 player in the state, so he ends up coming to Cincinnati and becoming one of their top scorers.
He probably wouldn't have liked the gumbo as much as he liked the chili up there.
A chili over gumbo, yeah. Off target for Morris Dunnigan coming in off the bench. Houston looking for something. 2.1 to go, and Mick Cronin has that use it or lose it timeout to try to set something up for the final 2 seconds. It is senior night at Fifth Third Arena. Kevin Johnson, one of those 3 seniors honored tonight, and he's off to a good start at both ends.
And that's what he's known for, an outstanding athlete, excellent anticipation on the defensive end, and the offense that he gives Cincinnati is just an added bonus. You know, the way he's built with his length, his quickness, and his basketball savvy, he's been an integral part of that outstanding Cincinnati defense.
Kevin Johnson is the Cincinnati native on this roster. He's from Westwood, which is about 5 minutes away from Calhoun Drive, south end of the Cincinnati campus.
Mom just saw her face up on the Jumbotron up there.
Patrice and Kevin Sr. both in attendance tonight. Part of the senior night festivities. Clark will inbound with 2.1. They'll heave it off the hands of Brooks. And that'll take us to the end of the first half. Houston averages the 4th fewest turnovers per game in the country. Michigan, Virginia, Notre Dame, the only 3 teams with fewer turnovers at 9.8. They averaged 9.8. They had 10 in that first half. And it all leads to a 17-point Cincinnati lead at halftime. Adnan, Kara, Jeff in the studio after these messages for the halftime report.
The UEFA Champions League continues as clubs look to advance to the quarterfinals.